Today, we got to visit with Stephen Walker. We talked sketch comedy, early comedic influences, adapting comedy shows during COVID, his new podcast, and what's coming down the road for comedy in La Crosse. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is La Crosse Local.
My name is Stephen Walker. I was born in Harvard, Illinois. I got into sketch. I've always been a fan of like Saturday Night Live and stuff like that. Chris Farley was like an idol of mine and was always interested in the magic that is sketch comedy. But I moved to La Crosse and a neighbor of mine started an improv troupe and kind of rooked me into it. She saw me doing karaoke one night, actually, believe it or not, at the Cavalier long before Jason owned it. It was like, I do this improv troupe and you should do it. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Monday afternoon came along and she knocked on my door and was like, I'm literally your neighbor. You're coming downstairs to do improv. And that started everything. I ended up doing like 40 different productions of plays here in town because of that. We started an improv troupe. And then one night, Reese Wolf asked me if I could do anything, actually his wife, asked me if I could do anything in town on stage, what would I do? And I said, I really think this town needs sketch comedy because Hart kind of does sketch, Heart of La Crosse, but they more do improv or loosely based stuff. And there wasn't real sketch in town. I said, that's what I want to do. And then him and I took that idea and ran with it. 8 years later, here we are.
I hear you're the person who just really knows to put on those live comedy shows. What does it take to put a sketch comedy show together? And I guess maybe in person in some ways, before the COVID.
It takes a village is what it takes to be completely full of cliche. It takes one person saying, hey, let's do this, and then having a team of people around him that just believe in the idea. Because the amount of talent in town, you can't recreate that. So I got lucky with that. The rest of it is just sweat. The rest of it is just refusing to not ask the question. Can we do this? Yes, we can. Now let's just go figure out a way to make it happen. And you get people that help out with the online stuff, and you get people that help out with video stuff, and you get people that help out with their stage expertise. It literally is having a team around you that believes in what you're doing.
In terms of the live shows, putting those on, and you also have an online component, and I'm sure that in some ways is switching to online, at least to get us through, who knows. What has that process been like?
Oh, so we went from a team of amateurs that didn't really know what we were doing, but didn't take no for an answer, to a team of people that were now being asked to do 4 different jobs that really weren't theirs. We are now video editors and IT managers and influencers, and like, it's ridiculous. It's really difficult for us, being that it's not our full-time job. We don't get to do this every day, all day. So we have to figure out a way to do it and just, again, attempt to do what we've seen before. You know what I mean? Like, so we create our own content, but we're kind of following models and figuring out our way to fill those models. But somehow, through the magic of hard work and theater, comes out with what we have.
What's next for that group? Like, what's coming down the line that you're particularly proud of or you're excited about?
So we're going to do another online show in the middle of November. So it'll be after the election, but it'll before Thanksgiving. We don't have an exact date yet, but it'll go up then. So that's what's coming up next. We got another live, quote unquote, live show coming up, but the middle of November is when it's coming. We're putting the sketches together now. We had our pitch meeting already. So that's when the sketches are originally pitched, and then we'll call those down to a show and put it up again online. This will be a little bit different in that we're not so stringent on the connection guidelines. So it'll be a little looser, I guess, we won't be so distant and it won't be a bunch of Zoom meeting sketches and stuff like that. But that's the big thing that's coming up next. All of our focus on the show that's coming up in the middle of November.
So you also have a new podcast, Perfectly Marvelous Podcast. How did that get started?
Another live member, Kat, she and I love that show, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But we love it from 2 different perspectives. She is very much, and I say this non-disparagingly, she is very much a millennial who is into fandoms and shipping and all the other buzzwords that they use now, where I come at it from, I am a big fan of Amy Sherman Palladino, and I love the artistry of the writing of a television show. So the two of us come at it from very different perspectives and would have deep conversations about it, and we just decided to record it. So now we're doing a rewatch of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, like everybody else, letting the world know what our opinions are.
I want to go back to sketch comedy in some capacity. How would you suggest someone getting involved with sketch comedy?
Improv. Find a team that's doing improv, find out about improv, learn what improv is, real improv, not like Whose Line, but do real long form improv, because that's the basis of everything sketch. So if you like anything that's ever been done on Saturday Night Live or that sketch show or Peep Show or Little Britain or Kids in the Hall, any of those kind of shows, it all started with long form improv. So if you want to do it, that's where I would start, and then just do it. No one's stopping anybody from doing it. No one's telling you no. Be your own artist and create what you think is funny.
Has there been anything surprising to you in terms of participating in sketch and improv that has kind of improved with the idea that you can't get in the room, that you could either reach more people? Has there been any benefit to you that you feel like it's important that's making people kind of veer in that directions that you may have not have seen before? I know us, Lacrosse Local, just starting a podcast over this COVID experience, and it's been something that's allowed us to actually get something up and going that we've always been talking about.
One of the things that I'm really proud of is the exposure that my team has gotten. Sam Schultz is the one that turned you my way. He made a video for us called Things Lacrosse People Say, put it up online, and it went viral. We as Live, though it's all Sam's work, we can take pride in, those kind of things. Creativity, the conversation, the things that have come out of our rehearsal space is really what I'm most proud of. Nick Peterson, who is our head writer, he got to open for Kyle Gass because of his work with Live and exposing himself to, that sounded bad, because Jason knew that Nick was an artist and a musician, he approached him and blah, 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 blah. Jonathan Majak, who is a person that used to write for The Second Supper, he was a part of our cast for a little while. Because people realized that he was able to do stage stuff, he got a part in a play at the Muse. Jake Leese auditioned for a show at LCT. So that kind of stuff, just exposing people to the stage that maybe wouldn't have taken that opportunity, is really what I'm most proud of. The exposure thing is a weird thing. Like, we couldn't have planned for Sam's video to take off that way, but the video made us way more high profile. It made Sam start the Lacrosse Times. It spawned a whole bunch of exposure things that you can't plan for, that kind of thing. You just can't.
I don't know if it's something that's just been always building, but it just seems like there's just been an explosion of opportunities for comedy with Big Bluff Comedy Hours that they had at the local breweries, to your different groups that have been around a while. Have they always been here, or is it really just kind of an influx in the last couple of years?
I think it's exposure. They've always been here. Heart's been here for 15 years. Big Boobs Comedy in Winona has been around for a long time. Moonshine Comedy before Big Bluff has been around for a while. I've been in lacrosse for almost a decade, and I would say there's been some sort of comedy the entire time. Maybe not as many as there are now, but there has been a strong comedic influence, at least in town, if you look for it.
So what's next for you? What are you excited about?
This show coming up is a really big thing. The show coming up in November, we're going to do another online one and see how that goes. Yeah, I'm kind of in flux, unfortunately, because COVID really put a tamp down on everything. I was supposed to direct a show at LCT this coming season. That, of course, isn't going to happen. So I don't know. I'm putting my heart kind of into this podcast because it's fun to create and do that thing. But I'm kind of just open right now. I'm trying to be a conduit to create, if you will.
So where can people find out more if they want to follow along?
We have a website, livefromlacrosse.com. all one word, obviously. We are also on Facebook. The Perf Marv, Perfectly Marvelous Podcast, is on Spotify and iTunes and all the places that you get your podcasts. And I'm a air personality on a local radio station, so I'm always talking about the crap that I've got going on there as well. I think it's kind of hard to miss us. If you have your ear tuned to La Crosse in any way, shape, or form, we should be a name live from La Crosse that you've at least heard before.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Locals. Subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.